on behalf of our institute to Vidyasagar and Professor Taposh Chatterjee, as the former registrar of Northern University, will tribute on behalf of me, on behalf of us, on Akshay Kumar Dutta. And the vote of thanks will be delivered by our Vice President, Devashish Pal. Now he is the Joint Finance Officer of Jadavpur University. Before introducing the eminent speaker, I would like to give a brief about the registration of the participant. From 5 countries, from Estonia, our Jack Holgus is from Dutta University. Then Malaysia, Thailand, Bangladesh, and India. From India, about 12 states: Odisha, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, Sikkim, Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Karnataka, Pune, Tamil Nadu, and ours. About 22 universities, namely Utkal University, Jamia Millia Hamdard, Sarala Birla University, Ranchi University, NIT University, Usmania University, Sikkim Central University, GIG University, SS7 Dean University, Bangalore University, UCFA University, IISRR Pune, Lovely Professional University, IITDM University, Central University of Tamil Nadu, NITK, Karnataka, University of Tattu itself, I have already mentioned.
Professor Das, any problem? I think some network problem. Professor Das, are you hearing?
Yeah, perhaps due to network problem, he is disconnected. So, Professor Chandra, please try to contact him over phone.
Yeah.
ফোনে বলুন, ও বুঝতে শুনতে পাচ্ছে না তো, মিউট হয়ে আছে।
Yes, I am trying. Otherwise, Professor Sudhakar may continue, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. Because of network problem, if someone got disconnected, then better to start.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So, okay. Due to network disturbance, now I would like to introduce. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Continue.
Professor Vidyasagar Agarkar is the editor of our journal. He was a former professor of Vidyasagar Mumbai, and he is also associated with another university affiliation. I request Professor Agarkar to welcome on top of Asita. Professor Akshay.
Asita, mute yourself. Asita, mute yourself.
Yes, yes.
No, not audible.
Yeah,
Professor.
I was
All
Asita, mute yourself.
I don't know why.
Asita, mute yourself.
Yourself.
All please mute yourself except Agarkar. Asita, please mute.
yes, I'm trying to mute.
Just once still on.
Only sheets also you open.
Ashit sir, can you hear me?
Okay,
Do anything with it.
okay.
Hear me?
I have done. Asita,
Let us start.
I cannot mute on the screen. I cannot do
Mr.
it.
Agarkar, you are
I
not
can
audible.
hear on the screen.
Huh?
You are not
Can't
audible.
mute.
Can you hear me?
No, please use the earphone. No.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now it's okay.
So, because of this pandemic situation, we are unable to meet in person. But this technology has to this new mode, whichever has been made available to us.
Yeah.
There has been some problem. Fortunately, this platform has settled in India because many of these classes are going on online. In fact, I have been conducting lectures on Ramanujan's life through the webinars. They are going on well. I take the opportunity to welcome all those who were present. When I say all those, I would firstly say all those who are concerned with Indian Institute of Social Reform and Research. I would say all those who are concerned with journal, International Journal of Research. I would say all those who are writing articles for the journal. And especially I would like to invite Professor Jack Halbrook, who has taken his time out to guide us on this occasion. I have been interacting with Professor Das for a long time, and as you know, after his retirement, he has initiated this institution, and he was describing some of the activities of this institution. One of the major activities is the journal. Actually, when he started the journal, I was not very sure whether the journal would, move on, will take a speed, it will be recognized. Because, print media was slowly going on and the digital media was coming up. But he managed to do both digital media and print media, and we are getting good response to this journal. He has been sending me many articles for review, and notably, these articles are quite good. So if you look at the previous journals, you will see we have substantial academic input to these journals. And notably, he has also brought out a special issue on pandemic that we are facing. So I'm very sure that it will continue. But at the same time, there is a need to guide people, especially the new writers, how to write science articles, especially the research articles. Because writing a common article is different than writing a scientific research article. Because there is a systematic method, there is a review of literature, there's a data analysis, there is a conclusion, there are suggestions, there are bibliography. These are all methods that have evolved for a long period for writing technical articles. Many of the young teachers at both at school and college who come out of the traditional education and join the teaching profession are not familiar with this because they are not taught. Research methodology as such is not taught at the college level, and writing of technical articles is not taught formally. We learn it from our guides. When we register for PhD, our guides go on telling us, we start writing papers. Many of you would agree with me that in many cases it so happened that we write 2 pages and guide says, oh, this is not relevant. And we get frustrated. And most of these young boys and girls get frustrated when the guide criticizes writing. When the guide says, oh, whatever you have said could have been said in only 2 sentences. Why you are written full page? Or whatever you have said, it has already been said by someone in this journal. So in that case, we get frustrated. And therefore, there is a need for formal inputs to the young generation how to write. And it's a great initiative on the part of Indian Institute of Social Reform and Research to start this. Actually, at some stage, this has been going on for a long time. At some stage, we wanted to actually conduct a face-to-face workshop in different parts of India, but somehow that did not work. This media, this mode of interaction, in fact, gives us a better coverage. Now, as Professor Das was saying, that we have people from 5 countries, we have people from 22 universities, which would have been difficult for face-to-face interaction. But even then, there are limitations of this, what is called online communication. But what I would like to appeal to all those, the younger writers, that they should start reading. You see, unless you know what type of articles are published in the journals, you will not be able to write in that mode. Firstly, you should read. You should read research articles. See, reading textbook is different than research articles. And if possible, read the original research articles. And fortunately now, with the JSTOR and with the Google search and with the facilities that has been made available to us through the internet, it's available on our laptop or desktop. When we were students, when we were doing our masters and PhD, we had no other way but to go to the library, search for that. In some cases, a paper would be available in a journal which is located in some other library. So either you go there or get that journal on an interlibrary loan, and you have to return it within a short span of time. Now the situation has changed. Now information is available at your doorstep. It is we who should make use of it. And it is also necessary that information has to be disseminated. And this dissemination is possible through journals like International Journal of Research. Over a short span of time, I see that this journal has made its name. I see that this journal is being read widely, and I also see that large number of people, not only within India, people from neighboring countries, they have started contributing to this journal. In some cases, when the article comes to us, we have to say this is not written properly, or it will send to the author for correction. But slowly, I'm hopeful that the thing would change, and as a result, this would become a well honored, well respected, and of course it is referred, and a journal of high impact, and I'm sure of this. So I do two things at this moment. Number one is I welcome all those who have participated in this online webinar. And I also wish all the best to the institution and to the journal. At the same time, all the best to the efforts initiated by Indian Institute of Social Reform and Research to train people in writing technical articles. And I'm sure these efforts will create more and more writers, and we will have more and more journals, and maybe if required, we can even increase the frequency of this journal at some stage. As far as it's going on, it's okay, but there is still a scope for progress. So I take the opportunity to thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity. I hope I have been able to come to a long distance. Actually, I am sitting in my small village in the Chandra district of Maharashtra, and I'm surprised that I can even speak from this small village to such a audience from different countries. It's of course a great thing by the internet, and I wish all the best to everyone who is participating. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Professor Agarkar. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Jack Holbrook. Holbrook, just like my teacher, because for many years I have participated with him under his leadership in several international conferences. We have learned a lot from Jack Holbrook. That's why he is also one of our main editor of this journal. We requested him to discharge two duties today: on inauguration of our International Journal of Research, Volume 6, Issue 2, as well as he is my teacher, he is asked to initiate the workshop with his keynote address on art of writing research article. It will be continued in the second part also. And later on, the participant, mainly the research scholars, some teachers who have participated today, who needs the workshop on it, our Professor Jana, he will tell. It will be continued after 2 or 3 weeks. We will inform them. Professor Jack Holbrook, he is presently a visiting professor in Tartu University with considerable experience in science education worldwide. He is basically from the field of chemistry. His PhD is chemistry. He has also strong in school science teaching background, extensive experience in pre-service teachers training, add to expertise from running in-service training workshops in a range of countries like Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, Europe. He has acted as an education consultant in a number of Asian and African countries. His research covers curriculum development in science subjects, teacher education, and assessment and evolution, as well as supervising PhD students in huge inspired research, scientific literacy, inquiry learning, and changing teacher beliefs. He has written and adapted numerous classroom teaching materials and published books on teachers as well as science textbooks for use in schools. He has also working since 2009 as curriculum and assessment consultant for Ministry of Education in Bangladesh, and from 2013 to 2019 for the World Bank on a competency-based curriculum project in Kuwait. He was a past president of IISRR, International Council of Association for Science Education. I was also one of the member, and for a long time I was associated with them. And Jack Holbrooks, when he was the president, I was participated in Malaysia in Siamu Rexam, the internal conference, and to chair the session as well as presenting my paper. And that was my first presentation in abroad. He headed IISRR involvement in European Union FP7 projects. That project is PROFILS, Profiles and Engineer. These are the abbreviations. In this case, profiles. The project in 20 European countries promoted a concept of scientific literacy that built on conceptual framework since as education through science, abbreviation ES, rather than science through curriculum, and promoted through a 3-stage teaching approaches: motivational, inquiry-based, problem solving, suggests, promoted engineering in science education using the engineering cycle approach. In this opportunity, I would like to add that in our India, under the banner of UNESCO and under his leadership, one workshop on science technology literacy. Perhaps it was 2003 or something. If I am not correct, it will correct me. It was conducted, and under his leadership, we have taught and so hands-on activity. We have participated how the science and technology literacy policy can be adapted in our India, and that was the resolution of that conference was adopted by the central government of India. Thank you. I would request Professor Jack Holbrooks first to inaugurate the journal as well as to deliver his address on our topic, Art of Writing Research Article. Professor Jack Holbrooks, please.
So, thank you for all of that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sir, please loudly, it is not audible, please.
I think you have two microphones.
Oh, no, one microphone is open.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
No, you are not audible, sir.
Please.
No.
Professor Jack Holbrooks, yes, now it is audible, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh,
you are audible.
but some noise are there.
I don't know why.
All others are requested to mute their mic, please. Professor,
Okay. How about now? No. Maybe I need to. Maybe I need to exit and come in again. I haven't got headphones here with me.
Please mute. Except Jack Holbrooks. All are requested, please.
Yeah.
Some noise are there. Actually,
Professor
Jack Holbrook is accessing
Yeah.
to the two.
On the screen, I'm muted.
Sir, perhaps you are using two devices. That's why harm is going on.
Need to exit.
Okay,
You are visible from
okay. I am trying to.
Somehow I need to exit.
Okay, Asiddha, I am trying.
yes, sir. Okay. Okay.
Am I now? Can you hear me?
Correct. You are all right. It is all right.
Oh, okay. I can't see myself, but that's good.
Okay.
I think I was on there twice was the problem.
Yeah.
So anyhow, thank you
removed.
for inviting me to talk here. I gather that it's a little warmer in India than it is here. If I look out the window here, all I see is white. Last night, believe it or not, it was -20. Now I think today -10. So this is Estonia for you. Okay, two tasks I've been given. The first one was to inaugurate the journal that has recently come out. And I gather it was dated December 2020, and it was issue number 3 for volume 6. And if you're not aware of this, there are in fact 15 articles in this journal that I'm very pleased to promote. 5 of them I would call position papers, that they're putting forward a point of view, but they're not actually research. The other 9 are much more into the research area. 8 of them are supposedly trying to promote evidence-based research. And the last one, there's one there that's much more related to promoting a model. So it's a model-enhanced type of research in the journal. So 3 types of articles in there, and I'm very pleased to see that the journal is thriving, and I hope we can promote the journal further. My area that I wanted to talk about was very much related to the research side of these articles. And in this, both the evidence-based, where data is collected, and the model-based, where the model is very much based on looking at the literature and putting forward a new idea associated with it. So in talking about the art of writing research papers, let me try and present, if I can, a little bit of the ideas associated with this. And somewhere I'm going to try and get this screen. How do I get at it? I've lost my slides. Let me start at the beginning. Can I just check? Is that showing to everybody? Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
And it is showing
No.
the screen?
No, but
So use present now.
Let me try and open it from the beginning. It does show?
No.
Can you see it?
no,
No.
your screen is not presenting.
Not showing. Okay.
No sharing.
So,
Uh-uh.
sir, you
Now I have a problem.
You click on the present
Am
now,
I-
sir.
You can hear me, but I'm not
Sir,
showing.
sir, you
Sir, at the bottom there is present now.
at the blot right side of the bottom,
As if something
there
There
is an
isn't.
option present now. You see, right side of the bottom,
Slideshow.
present now.
No. I haven't got a present now.
Present now, please. You see the present now option is there, right side of the bottom. When
No, I don't have.
you
There are
just
dots where you have to click.
scroll your cursor upward.
I got everything done.
Now, you just scroll your cursor upward, then you will see a ribbon at the bottom. You keep your cursor upward,
Yeah.
you just move your cursor upward, then you will see
Yeah.
a ribbon at the bottom of the desktop.
But I don't have. I don't quite know why.
At the bottom of the desktop,
No.
okay, sir. Sir,
All
better
it does
you
is
see.
just move my screen.
Actually, sir, I am now trying
Well, I can-
to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Your helmet. Okay.
But you don't have the screen.
Shivshankar, can you help to present?
So I can.
okay, I am trying.
Nothing coming. I don't quite know where I am. It really won't go. No. No.
Just a minute.
Sir, at the bottom right hand side. Present
Yeah.
now can.
No.
No, no, no.
Just a minute.
Professor Dr. Jana, just ask him to send the mail to you, and then you present the material.
Okay, I am trying to.
Vision welcome.
open-
Vision welcome.
Just a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, now I am trying to show my screen so that he can understand.
Still not showing, is it?
I am trying to show my screen.
Oh dear.
Okay,
No, I just
just a minute.
just ask Professor Harlock.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh dear. I can talk to it, but I can't seem to get
just a minute, sir.
in there. I've got no sign coming up that allows me to do that.
Hello, Professor Harlock.
Yeah.
Can you send the mail to Professor Jana?
Can I send the slide?
Send the PPT to Professor Jana, and then Professor Jana will present your slide.
Perhaps
Is it possible?
Actually, I am trying to show my screen so that he can understand. Is it visible?
Just report.
Yeah.
Is it
It is
visible,
visible, but
sir?
okay. We'll check.
Is it visible? Professor Holbrook? Is the screen is visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is visible.
You see, right hand corner, there is a provision of present now.
I don't have. That's the problem. I'm not sure
Okay, so-
what I'm
okay.
in.
Is your camera muted?
Your
If
PowerPoint is not
possible,
working.
if possible, please send the PPT to Jana.
Yeah.
Mr. Jana. And Jana will present the PPT, if possible.
Please. Siddha.
Your two devices on.
Still showing.
Siddha. Siddha.
Professor Jack, your two devices on. Please mute on. Otherwise.
Without slide.
Can
Audio one device. Otherwise, mute.
yeah. I don't seem to be able to get in. I don't know why. Yeah.
I think he is using two separate devices.
Yeah.
That is perhaps one problem.
Yeah. I can remove.
He is using two devices, one mobile phone and
Okay.
another his laptop.
Siddha.
Yes.
I can remove one devices from my side.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Now it is okay.
You've got
Now it's
screen
okay.
now? You are audible,
Yes,
sir.
we can hear you.
You are audible,
Does it
sir.
show?
You're audible, you can, sir, continue. Sir, if PowerPoint is not working, you can continue. Okay, no problem.
Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint or not?
No, sir.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Then I for some reason I can't get at it, so I just talk to it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just can't get at it. So what I was trying to do there was give a short little story related to research. And here is the situation that I was trying to portray. Ranjit wanted to seek funding so as to undertake research to find out whether external examinations are meaningful in determining students' abilities. So this was the research. So for this, he decided to develop a questionnaire to solicit the opinions of educationalists. He then approached a number of educationalists, teacher educationers, researchers, etc., and asked them to respond to the questionnaire. On receiving the responses, Ranjit analyzed these and developed a table of results. He then proceeded to analyze the data and seek an answer to his research question. My question associated with that, is this research? What I just described, is it research? And it is this that I want to address in what I'm trying to talk. So I want to talk just a little bit about the aspects that go into the research, and hence see if I can build up to Ranjit's proposal and answer that question. Is it research what I described? So, was it research? The simple answer is maybe research, if it's finding out about something, is research. And in this respect, Ranjit was trying to find out something. But is the research really seeking an answer to any particular question? Is the research original that what he is doing? If it's been done before, then can we call it research? And for that matter, does the answer to the question that he has have any value? And if it doesn't have value, can we really call that research? So this idea that if it's research, it's got to have some meaning. It's got to be meaningful. And by meaningful here, maybe I'm talking about finding out about something that is new, not been done before. So it's meaningful in that sense there, and we can judge whether it has value by finding out something new. But is the research question, if I put it forward, seen as meaningful? Is the research exploring the meaningful of external examinations? Is that an area of value? And does the research therefore seem worthy of support associated with it? In writing a research paper, we would put forward keywords in the paper that we're writing there. These are the major terms that are presented within the paper. So in Ranjit's case, what would be the key words here? It would be the words for his particular research direction. And the word, a key word, could be not just one single word. It could, of course, be a phrase. For example, science education, we would consider a key word. External examinations, we could consider a key word as well. And of course, if it is research, although I didn't describe, there would be an introduction to what the research is about. If you like, an introduction that sets the scene. It tells us what the research is about, and it provides a rationale for this type of research. If you like, it's giving a little bit of a background that puts the research into the situation. In other words, it may give, in the introduction, points that are in favor of external examinations. That, for example, they give outcomes in a similar manner for all. The introduction may also bring out concerns, general concerns. For example, external examinations cannot test all learning goals. And therefore, this introduction can raise questions that this research would need to tackle, and how important those aspects are is determining how appropriate the article is itself. So the aim of the research also needs to come out, and in Ranjit's case, where I mentioned, the aim was pretty clear. The aim was to find out whether external examinations are meaningful in determining student abilities. And so in this, we got to determine whether they are meaningful and whether they are meaningful for determining student abilities. This is needing to be answered within the paper there. So if the examinations are meaningful, then we need to understand what we mean by that, and perhaps this means they have an acceptable value as a measure. The investigation needs to determine students' abilities, and so these abilities need to be clearly identified if we know whether external exams are meaningful. And hence, would something like this attract funding for that type of research? In doing that a little bit further, we may put forward research questions. Very much in the journal, in volume 6, number 3, mainly the research put forward hypotheses. And certainly this is the case, but alternatively, you can put forward research questions. Example of a research question that might come into this area. To what degree of complexity do students conceptualize selected curriculum-related disciplinary or interdisciplinary core ideas? So that research question is going much more into depth than what the original title that I gave for Ranjit's research. Core ideas, whatever that are, disciplinary core ideas, interdisciplinary core ideas. So it's bringing out some of the background that needs to go into this type of research. Disciplinary, of course, referring to the subject there. Interdisciplinary, often referring to what people call one subject, but go across a number of subjects. Another research question that might fit that: what knowledge dimensions related to a set of specific disciplinary and interdisciplinary core ideas are captured in student-created mind maps? So now it's trying to suggest a mechanism by which you can get at this knowledge dimension, and is this appropriate for an external examination where the students are asked to create mind maps of themselves? They interlink the knowledge dimensions of a disciplinary or an interdisciplinary type in that. So the research questions play an important role and need to be very specific in what it is the research is trying to address. As I said, if you wish to put forward a hypothesis, then sure, you could put forward a hypothesis. How far you could go into the area I just mentioned is a matter of debate, but the simple hypothesis for Ranjit's idea might be external examinations meaningfully determine students' strengths and weaknesses. That could be the positive hypothesis to address in that case. If we're doing research, it's very important that there is the background coming through, and it background information, or if you like, in what in many journals are called a literature review. What does the literature say? How does the research fit into what the literature is saying? Not just one particular person saying, but what is the general picture coming through in the literature, or isn't there one? Is there divergence of opinions coming through? So that if it's a meaningful research we're doing, it will fit within this picture that the literature will supply, and of course the literature references would come through to interrelate to what was being put forward in the article. So the literature review would have major implications for the focus of any questionnaire that was going to collect data, because you don't want to repeat what the literature already says. You want to build on that background so that the research is seen as being something new, something original that's being put forward. So, if you like, there's brief descriptions of the background being considered in there. And if you like, we also need to worry about how up to date the references are, because of course, new research is coming forward all the time. And it's not much good putting a lot of 20th century references if you're looking at the latest picture of where you're trying to do the research. The methodology also plays a big role in deciding whether the type of thing that Ranjit was putting forward is real research. And in the methodology, you would expect it to talk about the sample that's being used. Who is it that will get his questionnaire? And is that sample an appropriate sample? Is the instrument that's developed an appropriate instrument? The way the data is collected, the way there is data analyzed, all of this would need to be spelled out in the methodology. But more than that, surely in the articles, it must say something about the validity and reliability of the research, because how appropriate is it if it's not valid and it's not reliable? So in articles, we would expect to see these being mentioned. The validity of the sample, is that shown to be valid? The validity of the instrument, in other words, is it fit for the purpose? Is it really got questions in there that are appropriate? The reliability, or if you like, the trustworthiness of the data collection. And the trustworthiness term I use here, because if it's more qualitative, the research, then we want to know how much we can trust the quality of that. And then, of course, the value of the data analysis. Is the way it's being analyzed having meaning? Is it appropriate? So now we're beginning to look at research from a number of perspectives, but certainly background is important. And now we're suggesting validity and reliability are also important aspects to consider in this. What I can't show to you now, but on my screen, is that instead of looking for evidence and collecting data, we can do research based upon models. And I was trying to illustrate one where a model was being derived, in this particular case, for an active, informed citizenry and the role of science education in promoting this. And the model is 3 overlapping circles where all of the circles inter-overlapping end up with the idea of an active, informed citizenry. The individual circles look at aspects of this. And in this particular case, one was looking at the idea of active, what we mean by active. Can a student participate based on their learning and hence participate in scientific activities? The second one is informed. Are they aware? Are they able to conceptualize from a scientific perspective? And the third one was looking at citizenry. So now we're looking at a collective involvement. This one now tries to relate not just with the science itself, but with the science within the society. So a social aspect or a socio-scientific aspect. And where the circles overlap, we get other ideas. For example, active with informed can overlap. And here we're looking at a scientifically literate citizen willing to participate. So we can describe the overlaps and eventually end up with all the circles interlinking of an idea of an active, informed citizenry. And in this particular case, suggesting they're scientifically literate, active participants influencing activities towards the citizenry, the collective citizenry approach to deal with socio-scientific issues. And as you would expect, the goal here is to address sustainable development within the society. It's a science education role, if you like, in that field. I had a second model as well that I can briefly mention. This was trying to interlink scientific literacy with science education, seeing these as 2 different aspects, and interlinking these with health literacy and health education, and trying to see how much they overlap. Not surprisingly, science education is totally within the realm of scientific literacy, whichever way we try to define that literacy, and it has been defined in the literature in different ways, but all of them encompass science education. Likewise, health literacy encompasses health education. But health literacy can also be, and logically, is within science literacy. And health education is within science education. There are overlaps associated with it, but not totally. In other words, we can have ideas in health literacy that are outside scientific literacy. These are sort of spiritual, emotional, psychological, ethical aspects of health, which may not be considered part of scientific literacy themselves. And of course, we could have parts of health education that come outside of science education or even science literacy. And again, these come into the cultural, practical approaches in health education. So we can build up research models based on what the literature is actually putting forward. And I can actually suggest that I could even put that, instead of a diagram, I could have that in a more tabular format. And I can't show it to you, unfortunately, but maybe I can send the slides later, where I contrast science through education as opposed to education through science. And again, this is in the literature, and I can look at this from a number of different perspectives here, where science for education may be looking at fundamental science knowledge or concepts or theories or laws. Education through science may have much more of a socio-scientific interrelationship with society. And instead of talking about problems using the English term, I talk about issues. Problems, if you like, being solvable. Issues can't be solved, but they resolve them. We come up with points of view that try to respect those issues. And so we can look at education through science through a much more interdisciplinary, socio-scientific idea, rather than science through education, which is very much bound within the conceptual area of the subject itself. And hence we can contrast two different models in a research respect based on the literature. Whichever we do, we obviously need to portray results, and the results could be qualitative or quantitative or a mixture of both that are presented with respect to the research. Where possible, it obviously helps to use a tabular approach to do this, and it would be useful to give the figures in tables that have appropriate labeling associated with that. Discussion, yes, it's not much good getting research if you can't put it into the literature situation, and hence the findings need to be discussed, particularly in terms of the significance of the findings or the interpretations or the analysis, interlinking them as necessary with respect to the existing literature. Discuss the topic, obviously needs to be discussed well, logically, linking with the aims, and if it's a good written paper, good research, without repetition of statements from the results section. The discussion also would point out any concerns, any shortcomings in the findings, and how the findings, if you like, do interrelate or provide alternatives to the existing literature. So it's not just enough to give the results, you've got to put them in the position associated with existing situation as well. So the discussion needs to be well sequenced, doesn't have repetition, points out why the findings are, all the analysis actually matter, what it is that is important about them, and it doesn't, if you like, go beyond its remit. It doesn't over speculate what can come from the research. Yes, research will also have a conclusion coming from it. By and large, it concludes what the research is about, and the simple way of suggesting that is it answers the research questions. So, if there are 3 research questions, it means probably there are 3 paragraphs in the conclusion, 1 for each. This isn't an absolute, of course, but it's a general idea, and many articles seem to fall down when they start giving the conclusions. They start repeating the results, and rather than answering the research questions per se. Yes, the last point perhaps associated with that I ought to mention is you've got to give references in there, and there are particular ways of doing that. The APA way of doing it, and there's now a 7th edition, suggests particular ways there, and the volume 6 issue was suggesting that it should follow this APA guidelines associated with it. And there are a number of guidelines in the documents associated with it. I guess I don't go into those because of the not being able to show examples on the slides there. So, having said all of that, I come back to Ranjit's proposal and said, is it research? Or I should have said, is what he putting forward valid research? In general terms, it seems to be research, but now we're going to be looking at it in more detail. We're looking at it, for example, are the aims meaningfully expressed? If it isn't, then we're suggesting it's not valid research, and therefore an article that doesn't give meaningful aims is not appropriate to publish. The introduction gives a meaningful direction. It plays a role and gives a rationale for the research. If the introduction it doesn't do that, then why publish such an article? It doesn't set the scene for it. Clearly, the work needs to be original and therefore not in the literature. So it needs to be aware of what is in the literature. Otherwise, how do we know it's original? And why should we publish in a journal research that isn't original? So it is based on the prior ideas in the literature. As I've said and stressed earlier, the sample at you has got to be shown to be valid. If it isn't, the research is not valid. The data collection needs to be undertaken in a reliable manner. If it isn't, then how do we trust the data collection? And the same with the data analysis. It needs to be the appropriate type of analysis to give meaning to the research. If it doesn't, why publish? And then, of course, does the answer to the research question have value? Is it well justified? Is it something that we would wish to see being published? In other words, is the research worth doing? And of course, what I didn't bring up earlier, but I add it now, that the paper is well written. In English, this means that you don't change the tense of the verb, but within a paragraph. You keep it the same. And it's so easy to change that tense of verb when you're writing in English. It distinguishes between an issue and a problem there. It tries to make use of terminology that is appropriate for the type of journal that you're putting it in. And of course, it flows. There's not repetition, and a paragraph follows another paragraph in the way that it is written. So, I've talked about the research, but I've switched in what I am saying very much to writing articles and trying to pick up what it is that a reviewer is looking for when they review articles. And most journals would have at least 2 reviewers looking at an article before they would consider whether to publish. And it's much more common that an article goes back with comments from the reviewers to be modified to strengthen what it is. My PhD students suffer enormously in having to modify what they are doing to get their journal published. And I think we published about 4 or 5 articles in the last year, and not one of them was published without modification. So this is definitely an area that comes. And with that, maybe that is a good place for me to stop and pass back to the organizers and hopeful that that was useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jack Holbrook, for your thought-provoking and very useful deliberation. I hope all of us enjoyed your lecture and benefited from that. From our advisory board, the Professor Dilip Mohanto, there are Ashok Motaid from USA, Robin Groups from Australia, S.N. Pathan from Nagpur University, former Vice Chancellor, Professor Dilip Mohanto, former Vice Chancellor of Poland University, and the Sanskrit University, as well as he is the Professor of Calcutta University. Apart from that, he is an eminent educationist, and he has so many works in philosophy, particularly philosophy of science and metaphysics. We are lucky enough that he has given us 5 minutes time to react on this workshop. Professor Mohanto, please. Sir.
Namaskar, very good afternoon to all. I'm really overwhelmed when I see that I have a chance to refresh my old friendship. A few years back, we were working together. Professor Das is a very inspiring and untiring personality in Kalyani University in those days. And I'm very, very grateful to the organization remembering me after so many years. In fact, what about the hearing this keynote address, which is very much helpful for not only for the new researcher, but also for the old researcher like us. There is something saying in old philosophy of our country that let noble thoughts come to us from different directions. It is in the Rig Veda, that is Anu Badra Kratavu Yantu Vishataha. So we are always open-ended. Research is open-ended, and there is no end of learning. As referred, that modification of is a necessary condition, and review of literature is another necessary condition for good research. And research is research. Again and again, you will have to search. We call in Sanskrit Bhuva Darshana. Bhuva Darshana. And especially philosophy. In philosophy, our research is based on, data of empirical science. If you go through the positive sciences of ancient Hindus by Acharya Brajendranath Shil, and there is a very, very fantastic methodology for research is there. And, so it's always it is beneficial for all of us, not only for the new researchers. And secondly, I appreciate the effort undertaken by my friend Dr. Das. As I said, he never feels tired activities, and this journal is publishing article of great repute after reviews of proper reviews by the experts in different fields. It's more an interdisciplinary journal, what I consider. I hope that with this support, although it is almost beginning, only 6 volumes have been published, it will continue and enrich us. In that way, it will serve the society, humanity.
6 volume at the 13 issue. 6 volume, 13
issue. And he is fond of sending this to me online, and I read some of very good articles. Although all the articles I could not, understand. But what one thing is very clear, what is said by Swami Vivekananda about religion, that some of his followers asked him whether in religion, there very often we know there is a clash between religion and science, then which is to be followed? He said, which is not the customs, the do's and do nots associated with religion, if it is not examined by the scientific knowledge, then it is always a burden. So as if they are not supported by the latest research in science, then the early you leave it, better it is. Better it is. So science is always with our life, we cannot, and science is always something dynamic. That's why it is called, it is included in ancient India's educational system that first starts with science, with experience. Nothing can be an object of knowledge if it is not an object of experience. And 2,500 years ago, there was a teacher came in India. He was Siddhartha Gautama, who said, his disciples in the first sermons, that my dear disciples, don't accept anything what I have said just out of reverence or regard to me, but first you examine, cross-examine it, analyze it. If you find it is worthy, then accept, otherwise you reject. You act just like the goldsmith. Goldsmith tests the genuineness of a piece of gold, how? Cutting it, rubbing it, putting it into fire. So it is the very logic. It is the very logic of reasoning and testing, which is called the verification. Verification is an important method. I think where this tradition is there. Unfortunately, in India, in the last 1,000 years, much attention has not been given to this, our scientific method of development. And it is very important to, instead of our compartmentalization in knowledge, arena of knowledge, we should have a holistic approach, where because we all live in society. After all, everything is for society and everything is for humanity. Therefore, this, though it is a very small attempt to publish a journal, but its effect is, it is enormous good effect in society, because it will influence our future generations. It will create an atmosphere for training of our attitude for the good future of humanity. With these few words, I thank each and everybody present here and directly or indirectly associated with this institution. I thank all of you. Thank you so much, and namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Mohanto, for giving us a valuable lecture. And though it is brief, but we hope in future such program, he will give us time and he will deliver his lecture for our future generation. Now the time, our managing editor, Professor Shiv Shankar Jana, and associate professor of Kolkata University, he has taken all the troubles for making this arrangement of webinar. I would request to show our website as well as this new volume from our website link, and say a few words about how the selection process, as ours is the peer-reviewed journal, so we have to follow 7 steps and 2 blind review system. At least 2 to 3 months takes to evaluate and give suggestions before publication. For this issue, we received more than 25 articles, but after review, only 15 articles have been published. Professor Jana, please.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just I am presenting my screen. Just a minute. Is the screen is visible, Professor Das?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Is the Robin Warren Nobel laureate on 2011. At that time, back under Jack Holgoods, we are at this. He is also one Nobel laureate present in the international conference. Okay, you can continue.
okay, just last issue.
This
that
is the current issue.
Yeah, current issue IISRR-IJR, that is International Journal of Research, Volume 6, Issue 3. It was published in December 2020.
You can open it.
Yeah. All these are articles. Okay, this is the content page of the article. Total 15 articles are there.
Please, you open the content page, that is A.
This one.
So that
Okay.
you can
Okay.
have the who are the editors.
Okay. Okay. You see, I think it is visible. So
this article, this volume is dedicated to commemorate the birth bicentenary of two great visionaries, Vidyasagar and Akshay Kumar Dutta.
Yeah.
Please, Jana, continue, please. Scroll below. Okay, continue.
Just a minute.
Shankar.
Okay.
Okay.
This is the
donation page.
Yeah.
This is the advisor, and it will you can read out.
Okay. I think it is self-explanatory. It is not needed to read out all the things. Total 15 articles are there. All are visible to your screen. So please go through the this page. You will see that Dr. Taposh Kumar Chatterjee, Dr. Vikas Ranjan Dev, Professor Soroshi Mohan Da, Tej Kim Hong, Lee Sho Mi.
Vikas Ranjan.
Yeah. Fong Su Fook and Babita Bharadwaj, T.V. Gopal, Biswaranjan Mandal, Kaliram Murmu, Krishna De, Nimai Chand Maiti, Mrs. Dayamai Das, Professor Dr. Bijan Sarkar, Dr. Muhammad Azizur Rahman, one spelling mistake is there, another Mr. Parthapratim Haldar, Professor Madan Mohan Chel, and Shantan Chatterjee, and Miss Subhasri De, and Professor Madan Mohan Chandra, and Ajay Kumar Manna, Professor Dr. Nimai Chand Maiti, Mrs. Nivedita Sarkar Talukdar, and Professor Dr. Ashit Kumar Das. Total 15 papers are there. Some articles have the more than one author. So just now I am trying to mention one good thing is that we have already taken some initiative to include our IJR journal to the UGC care list and also in the Scopus database, but the process is interrupted due to a recent pandemic situation, but we are trying to include in these two database, and also we will try to include in the Web of Science database. Okay, and now I would like to show you the flow chart regarding the review process in our journal. So you see, is it visible, Asiddha?
It is visible.
Okay. So review.
Yes,
process.
it is visible.
Okay. So you see the review process. Actually, I have framed a flow chart. You see, so first you start. The author is starting his research work. Then, after completion of the research work, he has written his research work as a report, as a journal article, and submit to our editor-in-chief. Okay. After submission, after getting the article, the editorial chief will conduct a meeting, that is for manuscript categorization. Okay, we will actually categorize in different subject area, and then our primarily see the actual fulfillment of the journal criteria, and we will check the plagiarism. Okay, if we check plagiarism and some the previous primary criteria, if it fulfill, then it's okay, otherwise we reject the article. Okay, if yes, fulfill all the criteria and that is format, typesetting and all the things, and plagiarism check, then we preparation of the paper for sending to the reviewer for double blind review. You see, actually there are two types of review process. One is called the open review, where the identity of the author and identity of the review are open to both the parties. Okay, and another one is the blind review, and blind review again are of two types basically. One is the single blind where identity of the author is open to the reviewer, or the identity of the reviewer is open to the author, and another one is the double blind, where identity of the author and reviewer are not open to both the side. It will be secret for both the side. So we follow the double blind review, and then we send paper to the two subject reviewers. Okay, subject reviewer. Then if we got the positive recommendation from both the reviewer, if yes, then we send to the paper for any revision as per the reviewer's comment, or if no, then we if we get the one positive recommendation and one negative recommendation, then we will prepare to send the paper to the third reviewer. Okay, then if third reviewer give the positive recommendation, then it will go to the next step, otherwise it is rejected. Okay, so then asking for, and at the end we asking the author for producing the copyright and the copyright permission, and at the end, so we will accept the publication. And one thing I would like to share, that our journal is basically a open access journal. It is freely available in our website, and also it is very happy to share you that we have not taken any APC, that is article processing charge, from the author. But however, as we are a non-profit making organization, so we request all authors and all oil wishers and participants to donate our society to run smoothly. Okay, thank you. This is all about. Just a minute. Okay, Professor Das, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Jana, for sharing the review process. I would like to add something. Just after sectional meeting, if we find there is some technical errors, usually we send every author a primary observation mentioning where inputs can enrich his or her article. Most of the cases, the author send back that after fulfilling or after complying the primary observations. After receiving that primary observation fulfillment, we again review ourselves among the editorial board. Then we send to the reviewers if it is at all publishable. After that, when we receive the comments from reviewer, we do not send as it is. We send the essence of the suggestions to the author, which has narrated our managing editor, Dr. Chandra. Now is time for our third stage of this webinar. This is to commemorate the birth bicentenary of our two visionaries and the great leader of Indian Renaissance, Chandra Vidyasagar and Akshay Kumar Dutta. I request Professor Kumar Chatterjee. He is one of the editor of the journal, as well as he was former registrar of National University, and basically he is the professor of chemistry. And in some time he was also taking the charge of a new university as the registrar, Gaurbanga University. I request Professor Chatterjee to few words as a tribute to the great personality of Akshay Kumar Dutta.
Thank you, Professor Dash, and my very distinguished friends and scholars and researchers from various places who have kindly joined this webinar. I am very sorry that I cannot mention each of you by name. Please excuse me for that. Now, my time limit is 10 minutes, and I will try to finish within the time slot that has been allotted to me. Now, you see, we are talking about the 19th century Renaissance. This essentially means that this movement, this is sort of a social movement that was directed to generate social awareness and reform the society out of medieval thoughts and customs that were tainted with superstition, orthodoxy, gender atrocities, caste and religious violence, and the complete dependence on destiny rather than on the capabilities of individuals. Now, the attributes of the great men and women of the pioneers of Renaissance that made them extraordinary and relevant even today are confined to their indomitable efforts to filter the society of superstition and prejudice that obstructed social development, unity and fraternity among the masses, and human productivity. Contrary to a popular notion that the movement was limited to only Bengal, the history of 19th century India will reveal that the leading lights of Renaissance are in fact scattered all over the country, that is undivided India. For example, there are such legends. In fact, I am not trying to present before you a context in which the great Akshay Kumar Dutta had made his contributions. So, if you just look at the history, you will find that there are such legends of social reforms like Raja Rammohan Rai, Devendranath Tagore, Henry Louis, Vivian Dedozio, David Drummond, Dinabandhu Mitra, Radhanath Shikkar, Ramchandra Lahiri, Reverend Krishna Mohan Banerjee, Michael Madhusudan Dutta, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, and Swami Vivekananda in Bengal. Now, among these great men stand Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and Akshay Kumar Dutta as the tallest contributors of Renaissance in Bengal. Similarly, in North India, it took root in the activities of Arya Samaj by Dayanand Saraswati, and in Maharashtra, in Brahmo Prarthana Samaj, founded by IISRR and R.G. Bhandarkar. In Andhra Pradesh, we had the movement initiated by Vidyasagar Lingam. Paramahamsa Sabha in Maharashtra also played a glorious role. Concurrently, we also find such luminaries like Dadabhai Naroji, Behramji Malbari in Maharashtra, Bholanath Sarabhai in Gujarat, Fakir Mohan Senapati, and Madhusudan Rao and Radhanath Rao in Odisha, Anandaram Borua and Lokshminath Tejborua in Assam, to name just a few. Now, these reformers were endowed with a combination of enviable qualities, like human excellence, depth of learning, interactions with Western civilization, and gift of literature. Each of the pioneers of Renaissance was crafted with keen intellect, integrity, courage, conviction, generosity, sensitivity, and human compassion. The ferment of Renaissance were ingrained with a new look of a progressive human society, which will assimilate the best of our past heritage with the concepts and ideas of reason, emancipation, human rights, dignity of labor, scientific attitude that form the substance of European race. Now, when we come to Akshay Kumar Dutta, this is a tragedy actually, that he remains an unsung hero from Renaissance Bengal, from say, the late 18th century to almost the entire 19th century. That was the period of Bengalis or Indian race. Now, this period had its fair share of celebrities and heroes that I have already mentioned. Akshay Kumar Dutta possessed not only a sharp intellect, but the courage and conviction to articulate certain views or proper arguments that proved rather objectionable and distasteful to people of his class in contemporary Calcutta. For one, he was behind the reformist Brahmo Samaj, renouncing its faith in the Vedas as Pramana or proof, or an authentic source of Hinduism. Surely that was a revolutionary step for that time. Akshay Kumar Dutta found the Vedas to be internally inconsistent, as any work of human authorship was asked to be, and argued instead that nature itself and not any humanly authored text would be better qualified to be called as scripture. That was extraordinary, if we look at it at the time, to have the courage to say that nature is the best scripture to take human society forward rather than any ancient texts. With his friend and contemporary Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Akshay Kumar Dutta represents an exceptional stream of thought and consciousness. Quite extraordinarily, at a time when religion had become the preferred mode of self-expression for Western educated youth, both Vidyasagar and Akshay Dutta extended their critique of contemporary Hindu faith and practice to the point of incredible irreverence. While Vidyasagar argued that he had no need for a god who was powerless in preventing the merciless oppression of the weak and the innocent, Akshay Kumar Dutta insisted that honest human labor was likely to be as productive by itself as labor coupled with prayer. In true algebraic fashion, as you know, that prarthana equal to Hindu. Dutta placed the value of faith and prayer as zero. At least in case of Dutta, this would largely explain his gradual fading away from public memory, even in his native Bengal. That is why now we will never find a statue of Akshay Kumar Dutta, although we have lots of Vidyasagar, like Vidyasagar, Setu, Vidyasagar University, and others. So in some important ways, Akshay Dutta carried forward a line of argument first advanced in colonial Bengal by Raja Ram that advocated the progressive replacement of archaic and outmoded forms of indigenous knowledge by that which was socially and professionally useful. Like Raja Ram again, Akshay Dutta was an admirer of the English philosopher Francis Bacon and his inductive line of reasoning that supported scientific observation and experience. And like Raja Ram again, he was an advocate of women-related reform. In the 1860s and 1870s, when conservatism had begun to take hold of the Hindu mind, Akshay Dutta was among the few to consistently support both widow marriages and legal abolition of multiple marriages or polygamy among upper caste Hindu males. Such ideas Akshay Dutta formulated in his few well-known treatises like Bajya Bostu Shohit Manav Prakriti Sambandhu Vichar, which is in English a treatise on the relationship between human nature and external world, that was published in 2 volumes in 1851 and 1853. And another famous book, Dharma Niti, or the Principles of Morality, that was published in 1856. Now, the intellectual legacy of Akshay Dutta manifested itself broadly in 2 ways. First, he was preeminently an educationist and pedagogue who successfully ran schools and experimented with the teaching and dissemination of useful and practical knowledge that was suitably adapted from the West. Arguably, he was also the first in his generation to invent a scientific vocabulary in the Bengali language for the teaching of elementary science. Like Vidyasagar, he was a successful author of school textbooks. For example, his well-known Charupat in 3 volumes that was written during 1853 to 1854. He was the first author to write Bengali book in 1851. His Padarthavidya, again he was the first person to write a book in Bengali on physics in 1856. That apart, he also served as the editor of the well-known journal Tattva-Bodhini Pustrika from 1840 to 1855, and after 1855 he became very, very ill due to a nerve disease. In Bengali he called it Gohi Shirokpida. So, this is the academic accomplishments of Dutta. It's somewhat ironic actually that Dutta's best known work is a 2-volume narrative on Hindu religious communities in contemporary India that is known as Bharatbarshiya Upashak Sampradaya. In the first volume, he displays great erudition and the ability to master ideas and methodologies across disciplines like history, philology, and religious studies. This work, believed to be based on the Orientalist H.H. Wilson's classic account of the Hindu religious sects and communities, actually goes well beyond it. Akshay Dutta carried out extensive fieldwork investigating extant Hindu religious communities, and the 3rd volume might well have emerged but for the untimely death of the author. For a good part of his life, Dutta struggled against poverty, illness, and an unhappy conjugal life. Estranged from his wife and family, he spent the last years of his life virtually as a recluse in the village of Bali, in the Hooghly district, a few miles off Calcutta. There he pursued his consuming interest in science, studying and cataloging extant fossil remains of plant and animal life. Actually, he created a botanical garden in his small house, and when Vidyasagar visited that house, he called this house Shobhana Udyan, Akshay Dutta. Now, Vidyasagar called this not only Shobhana Udyan, but it is Charupat Volume 4. Such was the beauty of the garden and its immense academic merit. Now, friends visiting him at Bali were struck by the huge portraits of Ram Rai, scientists Thomas Henry Huxley, and Isaac Newton that adorned the walls of his drawing room. In hindsight, it may be reasonable to say that the choice of these portraits also testifies to the acumen and breadth of interest in a man whose work and memory has somehow not endured among his country. So these are the few words that falls well short of paying my deep respects to the memory of this great icon of Bengal Renaissance in general and the Indian Renaissance in particular. Thank you so much for your kind appreciation.
Thank you, Professor Tapas Chatterjee, for delivering his short, brief, but very valuable speech. At least to his speech, our IISRR and IISRR-IJR can give respect to that great visionary of Kumar Dutta. Then I will, our next speaker on Vidyasagar, Professor Dutta, the advisor of our journal, as well as he is the Vice Chancellor of a Central University, Dakhin Bharat, Hindu People Samiti, Chennai, and former Vice Chancellor of Bond University. Prior to beginning his lecture, I leave me and Melanie from Malaysia, give me and Ajiju Rahman from Bangladesh. Can you hear me? So you get ready after deliberation of Professor Chandra. I request you to say few words within 3 to 5 minutes. And before thanks, TV Gopal, who is our Vice Chairman for development of our journal in UBC, Ubas, etc. I expect to few words from him. Now I will Dutta to give our tribute to Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar, Professor.
Thank you. Very good day to all of you. Professor Jack Halbrook, inaugurator and keynote speaker of today's program. Professor Agarkar, Professor Das, Professor Mohanto, Professor Jana, Dr. Tapas Chatterjee, Professor Bhomik, and distinguished participants. I am privileged to associate myself with the inauguration program of International Journal of Research, followed by commemoration of birth bicentenary of two great leaders of Indian Renaissance, as you all know already, Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar and Akshay Kumar Dutta. Actually, I was requested by the editor-in-chief, Professor Dr. Ashit Kumar Das, to give one write-up about Vidyasagar. As Tapoja very rightly pointed out, numerous writings are available about Vidyasagar, so it is very difficult to write something new. Then I chose to write about Vidyasagar's views about religion, while the socio-economic and political scenario of today's world, particularly of the Indian subcontinent, is greatly influenced by religion. Different social forces are using religion as their bread and butter. Different scholars, legendary personalities have defined religions differently. Still, the political forces and upheavals are using religion for their personal gain. Iswar Chandra Sen, a social reformer who tried to mix Christian theology with Hindu religion, very rightly pointed out the universality of each religion that depicts its own culture. Rabindranath Tagore stressed upon the need of fundamental faith in humanity and its divine source. Tapoja has described the background of Indian Renaissance under which the great two personalities have done so many things. Actually, after winning the Battle of Plassey in 1957, British rulers strengthened their position in India, and to have a long-term effect, they wanted to destroy Indian long traditional culture, religion and identity. They tried to import and imbibe Western culture. It continued for a long time. The traditional Indian civilization was at stake. The educated Indian elite were confronted with the challenge to protect their own culture and civilization under the leadership of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, followed by a series of worthy Indians. Suppose I already mentioned the name, I am not going. Actually, Ishwar Chandra was one of the greatest humans that India gave birth. His courageous attitude, secular mentality, contribution to Bengali prose literature, use of punctuation mark in Bengali literature, introduction of universal education and women education in particular, stopping of child or early marriage and polygamy contribute a lot to the socio-economic and cultural development of the contemporary India and Bengal in particular. That is why after 200 years of his birth, Vidyasagar could be regarded as a modern man. Actually, as you all know, religion is based on faith in divinity that shapes our destiny. The concept of divinity varies from person to person, giving rise to different kinds of religions in the world. For a right-thinking person, his work is God. That is why it is said that work is worship. I have also mentioned that Bengal had the long tradition of social reformation and religious transformation in the 19th century. Among them, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra, Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Rabindranath Tagore were in the vanguard of social, religious and literary movements that usually in Bengal, which attracted the attention of whole India. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar became the most determined social reformer after Raja Ram Mohan Rai, a scholar and a controversialist of eminence, an intellectual gladiator whom no adversary could overcome in argument. I am not going into details about the religion. Actually, we know that Vidyasagar was born in an Orthodox Brahmin family. Naturally, it was expected that he would involve himself in the traditional practice of worship. As a student of Sanskrit college, he had vast knowledge of Hindu Shastra. He never tried to preach anyone about God, soul, etc. because he never believed in all those things. Professor Amolus Tripathi very rightly pointed out, outwardly he never made a fuss about the Brahmins' ritual and caste rites. He regarded image worship as irrational and did not allow it at his own home. We all know about one thing, how we considered the God. On hearing the news of sinking of one steamer, St. John Lawrence in 1887, in which hundreds of passengers of different ages and different religions had died, Vidyasagar was very much grief-stricken. He commented and finally questioned the very existence of God. He opined, if there is any one like Almighty, how it has become possible to drown so many people of different places of different countries. When someone wanted to know about God, Vidyasagar told that there is no way to know Him. Rather, all of us should try for the welfare of the whole world. We did not have any theory of religion. The argument and debate on this aspect was eternal and will continue so long the mankind would exist. Vidyasagar on different occasions categorically commented not to waste our time and energy debating on this issue. We can also see numerous satirical comments of Vidyasagar about God. From philosophical point of view, Vidyasagar was nothing but a materialist like Akshay Kumar Dutta. Vidyasagar basically aligned to one important thing, he was aligned to Western intellectual opinion rather than Eastern spiritual one. Actually, Vidyasagar did not have the interest on religion Rather, he considered humanism as a religion. Whenever people face, like us, any crisis, in most of the cases, we used to take the shelter of the God for his remedy, which is quite unlike in case of Vidyasagar. He had to face lots of trouble, poverty, in his career, in his profession, but never he took the shelter of religion or God. It was argued by several people that Vidyasagar used to write Sri Hari Saranam. At that time, we know that we used to write letters, and at the top we used something. Vidyasagar used to write Sri Hari Saranam at the top of letter. So he could not be an atheist. Vidyasagar himself described by saying, if there is any existence of God, he would not bite us. There is no way to know about religion in the present state of affairs of man. And it was not necessary also. Vidyasagar always considered religion and God as one personal matter. It has no connection with the activities of the outside world. Vidyasagar actually was neither a theist nor an atheist. Better we can use the term agnostic to describe him or to glorify him. In his book Bodhogar, as you all know, Vidyasagar wrote, God does not have life, nor it is lifeless. It is not a plant. It is only consciousness like amorphous. Bodhogar created, as you all know, hue and cry in the contemporary India, even among the missionaries. Vidyasagar always hated narrowness and communalism in the name of religion. Actually, he had liked the difference between Raja Rammohan Rai and Vidyasagar. Rammohan wanted political and social upliftment through religious reform, whereas Vidyasagar perceived that upliftment could only possible through social reform. This is the difference. Vidyasagar became a legendary figure during his lifetime. Naturally, very like others, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Hindu mystic and religious leader wanted to meet him personally, went to Vidyasagar to meet him personally. During the discussions, Vidyasagar showed very little interest about religion. Ramakrishna invited him to visit Dakshineswar, but Vidyasagar did not feel the necessity to visit Dakshineswar because of obvious reasons. Vidyasagar was very much humorous, you know. We can also describe him as Rasasagar Vidyasagar. At the first sight, Ramakrishna told, I have seen so many Mars, canals, etc. Now I am seeing ocean. Vidyasagar jokingly remarked, then you can take some salty water now. So this is Vidyasagar. Suppose as pointed out Akshay Kumar Dutta, actually Akshay Kumar Dutta learned about Brahma Dharma from Devendranath Thakur and accepted Brahma Dharma in 1847 and became the secretary of the Tattvabodhini Patrika established by Devendranath Thakur. Vidyasagar was also associated with the same Patrika, but both of them came in contact with Tattvabodhini Patrika with the primary aim of involving into literature, science and social reforms rather than acquiring knowledge of religion and spiritualism. In spite of adopting Brahma Dharma, Akshay Kumar Dutta was out and out a materialist and science-minded. And as Tapoja pointed out, he has written books on physics also. In 1864, Vidyasagar wrote a Bengali dictionary named Shabdamanjari, where he has given a definition of religion. Vidyasagar linked traditional religion with unworldly faith and faith. Religion is the symbol of good and evil before Vidyasagar, and he worshipped it throughout his life. I am not going into the Vidyasagar's contributions in the about society, social reforms, etc., where he has lot of innumerable contribution. Practically, perhaps you might be knowing that during 1868-69, at that time in Bardhaman district itself, malaria was spread out, was broken out epidemic like, and Vidyasagar himself was present at that time in the Bardhaman and served the people like anything. Even financially healed the people. That was known as Bardhaman job. But to the utter surprise of all, due to several reasons, both within family and outside family, Vidyasagar left Bengal during last span of his life and stayed at Karnataka of Didendia, now Jharkhand, and spent his last life among the indigenous people of Santali. So this is Vidyasagar. That is why Rabindranath Tagore very rightly described Vidyasagar as one wonders how God, in the process of producing 40 million Bengali, produced a man. With these few words, may I pay my tribute to great leader of Bengal of the Renaissance period, Vidyasagar. I am grateful to the organizers, so I am a part of this organization for giving me this opportunity to share my views about Vidyasagar. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sushmita. I will not express any thanks. Is one of my mentor and the well-wisher, not only the well-wisher, the advisor of this journal. And he is just like our elder brother, Tapasgar and Solsida. Today's all the speakers are associated with the IISRR family. I request Lee from Malaysia, Siamorixam. Can you hear me? Lee, please unmute. Lee, Professor Lee from Siamorixam University. I request you to say a few words. He is also one of the well-wishers of this journal. Lee, have you left? Professor Dr. Nitin Bhomik, eminent immunologist. Nitin, are you here? Because our organization is associated with some other organization, BCC, Dudichi Community College, as well as UPA, Puribesh Unnayan Porshod. They are also associated with us. Nitin is eminent neurosurgeon. I told me that if any exigency, he may not be present here. Nitin, are you present? I cannot. Give me. So, Ajizur Rahman, can you hear me? He is from Kazi Nazrul Islam University, Bangladesh, and he is also one of the author of our organization, author of this issue. Please, Kazi, say your feelings within 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. May I able, sir? May I able?
Yes,
Honorable Auditor Dr. Ashita Das, respected Professor Jack Holbrook for the Inaugurate, other renowned educationist and scholar and participant, good evening all of you. Today, IISRR-IJR has arranged a very innovative program. I am very much happy for inviting me to share something regarding this program. Actually, IISRR-IJR is a peer review half-yearly printed and published and online journal. Their peer review teams of different subjects consisting of eminent educationists and practitioners under the editorial board will review of the papers, articles before publications. The aim of the journal to become a serious vehicle for inspiring and disseminating findings and directions of research paper, case study, articles, review, etc. The IISR is key to provide a platform for diversity to intellectual pursuit from all corners of the society for enrichment and enhancement of the group. Already, Professor Jack Holbrook has given a lot of guidelines for scholarly publications. If you are a good writer, you have to maintain some tips. Professor Jack Brooks has given their session has to deliver his speech different types of guidelines. I think IISR has achieved such types of level, I think. Especially IISR has achieved a web of science database. This is a great achievement for IISRR. I think, in my views, IISRR has maintained their publications policy, editorial board members, review process, each and everything. They maintain their publications policy nicely. So, lastly, I hope IISR will reach their goal successfully. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, patient here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aziz Rahman from Bangladesh. Professor Lee, can you hear me? Professor Lee. Professor Lee, just I have seen you.
Limi is there.
Can you hear me? Limi is not there.
Yeah. Limi is there.
Okay.
Limi is
Professor
there.
Limi. Then I will say, Limi, can you hear me?
Okay, proceed.
Okay. Then Professor T.V. Gopal, he is the Vice Chairman of our editorial board for the subcommittee for enlistment of our journal in different organizations, sites, EBC, CARES, UPAS, etc. And he is also, his article also published in this journal, though he is from the computer science background, but he has written on literature. T.V. Gopal, Professor Gopal.
Yes.
Within 5 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you very much for the entire.
He is the professor of computer science in Anna University, Central University in Chennai.
Good evening, and thank you very much to the entire editorial board, and specifically Professor Kumar Das, for all those nice articles which he has been sending for review. It has been a pleasure reviewing a good number of articles for IISRR-IJR, and I think that it's a journal of very high potential. And as all of us in academics are now understanding that without describing too many things about the work should speak for itself. One established way of making the work speak for itself is through those standard matrices, indexing, journal indices, impact factors. However, all senior researchers would also note that it is not the quantitative metrics alone that make a journal. It is the alacrity of the editorial board to spot such articles that have a very, very significant impact for the future. That is where the ingenuity and the collective wisdom of the editorial board comes into picture. There is definitely a reason to believe that these matrices are now becoming very strong academic performance indicators, and we need to strive to keep up the levels of the quantitative metrics reasonably high, and the goals of the journal of not charging pagination costs is something which is laudable. One of those key parameters based on which, when we seek funding later, the decisions are considered is primarily because of the metrics, impact factors and all that. I am sure all of us would strive to pick up, let us say, in addition to the quantitative data, about 3 or 4 articles of potential research, and IISR will groom those authors to progress further, see how we can contribute an academic exercise which was always being contemplated. I am very young, and it's my pleasure to be a part of the editorial board with such senior professionals. I did meet our Vice Chancellor, Professor K. Surappa, exclusively on this and had a quick discussion. He was quite happy that Indian journals should also find a place in a global context, and he has been very supportive of my participation in all these activities. It's my pleasure, and consider it as a blessing, to be writing for this special issue to commemorate the birth bicentenary of 2 legends, Iswar Chandra, Vidyasagar and Akshay Kumar Dutta. To be very candid, as a school student in Andhra Pradesh, we had a small chapter in the social studies, Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar. What is strikingly described is his role as a porter in a railway station to help one gentleman who was later going to attend his lecture carry his baggages. It was one of the most impactful narratives in a school textbook, and it is something fascinating that simplicity, that grade of simplicity is possible only for those who had history under their feet. Also impressive has been a wonderful article which is talking about teacher and in the vision of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, included in this issue, which is something which I take pride in for several years to come. He was with us at Anna University. I teach in the same university where he was teaching just before he assumed office as the President of India. It has been a pleasure interacting with him, and I'm sure that with all of you professionals chipping in, we will create that synergy to make sure that a simplicity, an ability to spot potential early, nurture will remain the hallmarks of IISRR and IJR. There are certain issues which we need to discuss subsequently. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm not a linguist, but I work in models. There are 3 models which we normally talk about language. One is the grammatical model. The other one is what we call the numerical data analysis, and the third one is the knowledge model. Knowledge has been primarily looking at etymology, data analytics, database, how it has evolved. The third, the grammatical algebraic linguistics for machine language. I have been exploring perspective, and I thank the reviewers and the editorial board for giving this opportunity to publish in this issue, which is a bicentenary celebration of 2 legends. One of them we studied about. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Dr. Kalam.
Thank you, Dr. Vedagopal. Through you, on behalf of IISRR and IISRR-IJR, we would like to convey our thanks to your Vice Chancellor because he has given permission to link up our journal with the university website. And through you, we request him to join with us in another webinar as the inaugurator. I will send him formal invitation letter and permission from me. Please call me. Limi, can you hear me? Limi? Even anybody from Malaysia? Are you present? Anybody? I have seen Babita Bharadwaj. He is one of the author from Delhi. Babita Bharadwaj, can you hear me? Just within 3 minutes, we would like to your comment, please. Babita Bharadwaj, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yes, please, your expression within it.
Good evening, sir.
Pardon, yes.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, it had been a nice experience for the publication process of my article, and the whole proceeding of today's session was really excellent. And definitely it will help us out to resolve some of the problems which we were facing earlier in publishing the article. So how to write article has been explained by sir. So it was really nice. So thank you very much.
One of the youngest researcher from Assam, Amiba. Amiba, are you here? Amiba?
Yes, sir, I'm present, sir.
Please. Say to you about your
actually, it was a very enlightening process for me, as I am right now pursuing my PhD, and I often have to publish my paper on my research paper. Actually, in this journal also I gave my paper, but due to various reasons, it came back. So it was like very enlightening for me, because I often tend to do mistakes. This small things we are not taught in this one in our basic coursework in our researchers, and even our guide. They used to say they used to teach us actually that they often used to say publish your papers, but actual guidance like how it will be published. Because till now I don't have even one Scopus publication, but till now I have sent for almost 10 of these journals. I have sent almost 20 articles, and it doesn't get selected. Now I know where I have been doing mistakes and everything. It was really very enlightening, and it really helped me a lot. I would really like to join again. Like if this continues.
How you come to know from us that there are the differences? From where?
Basically,
from primary objectives.
From my observation, basically this footnoting part, then APA, that things, and during this literature reviews, because scientific presentation of whatever we are doing, whatever, even though my this one research is also an empirical research, but presenting it, that is where we lack. So it was really enlightening when this sir, which sir, I actually forgot the name. I'm so sorry. Sir actually told us that this is how you actually need to write, that authenticity we should know, and if you have taken from somebody or you have given out, like borrowed some article, you need to present it properly. So this is where I lack, I guess.
Thank you. No, don't channel, because we generally sending observation mentioning each and every heading and subheading, he or she has to do, what is lagging behind him, and then that how the reference can be highlighted within the body, and how footnotes, all these things are there. Okay,
exactly.
We are planning for extension of this workshop after 20 or 21 days, after discussion with you and our editorial board. Technical, because our topic is art of writing research article, tools and techniques. Our managing editor, Professor Shivsang Vijayana, he has written one article in the last issue regarding this last special issue, there is so many apps and softwares are there. TV Gopal is also expert on that field. I would request both of them to present how the researcher, particularly the young researcher, can adopt different software and apps to develop their articles and present. We have received
that would be very helpful.
but I would not mention the name. So much renowned universities we have received articles, but unfortunately could not publish due to some technical defects are there. Material is good, no doubt, but technical defects there. But next, I want to take one, your permission, one participant of this webinar from other than West Bengal. Anybody can say 2 to 3 minutes. Anybody can volunteer. Otherwise, you'll go to our last vote of thanks. Shikha Jha. Shikha Jha, can you hold? From Ranchi University, perhaps. So, we are lagging behind our time schedule. So, I would request our Vice President and the Founder Secretary, and he was previously the Finance Officer of Sikkim Central University, and now he has returned to his parent university, Jadavpur University, joined Finance Officer, Devashish Pal. I request Devashish Pal to give the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Das. This is my good privilege to offer vote of thanks of such a beautiful webinar. First of all, I would like to give my thanks to Professor Jack Holgrove. He has rightly pointed out the small story along with the difficulties and the other formalities to pass this exercise. He has clearly mentioned what would be the degree of complexity of your research work and dimension of knowledge, whether it will be interdisciplinary or not. So thank you, Professor Jack Holgrove, even if you have given the time for this webinar, even if the temperature is -20 degrees there. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Agarkar. You have also pointed out the difficulties to publish research paper. It is not so easy every time. So the new researcher and the learner, they have to go far away to publish the research paper presently, if it is the high impact factor and high H index factor. Thanks to Dr. Shiv Shankar Jana, he is the associated editor, but he has clearly mentioned what was the steps to select our papers in IISRR journal. So it is the transparent process to publish in the paper. There is no biasness of these screening process. So it will enrich the future progress of our journal. And next, Professor Dilip Kumar Mohanto, former Vice Chancellor, Kollam University and Sanskrit University, and present Professor of the Calcutta University. Sir, thank you very much for giving your valuable time for this webinar. Next, thank you, Professor Tapas Chatterjee, for giving time. Though you are associated with our institute and journal, but you have mentioned clearly about the social work and devotion of life of our great visionaries, Akshay Kumar Dutta. Thank you for giving time to this webinar. And next, Professor, Vice Chancellor of on Central University and former Vice Chancellor of Barbara University. You have mentioned clearly the societal reform work done by our Pandit Chandra Vidyasagar at that time, when 200 years before. And then thank you very much, Professor Azizur Rahman, about the feelings of our new issues and a journal. And thank to Professor E.V. Gopal, Professor Anna University. And you have rightly pointed out the impact of publication of a research paper to a new researcher, as well as the quality of the research work for your greater academic achievement. And lastly, the dear participants from the different countries as well as the different corners of our country. Without your active participations, this webinar could not be made this successful stage. And finally, I would like to thanks to the key of all these programs, to Professor Dr. Asit Kumar Das. Basically, from the day beginning when this institute was established around 10 years before, he was the pioneer of the institute, as well as he is the contributor of every respect to this journal as well as the institute. Thank you. Please go ahead, Dr. Das. We are with you, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, all participants and all professors and academicians, for your valuable time.
Reviewers and the reviewers, please.
And the reviewers also, reviewers and the paper publishers, so those who have written the paper for this journal also. Thank you all. Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
So, before going to conclude, I would there is some reviewers are there, though it is blank. However, it is the opportunity to Bijan Sarkar from Kolkata University. He is here. He is one of our reviewers, and others also, those who have already. And I would request all of you, we are going to publish a next special issue, the selected papers of Osman State University as a special issue. Previously, we have published a special issue, an international conference conducted by the Instrumentation Science of Jadavpur University and other colleges also. If any college or any institute want to publish a special issue through our IISRR, we are ready to extend our full cooperation. However, paper should be up to the mark, because from Jadavpur University in international conference, they have received more than 70 plus, but sorry, we could not publish all these. The State University, they have sent us about 57. Out of 57, we have selected only, primarily selected, we have given the observation, primary observation to the 30 articles. We, with due apology, we informed the university we are unable to publish the other. Only abstract we can publish. Full paper cannot be published because it will be detrimental for the quality of our journal. So, if any institution eager to publish any special issue, most welcome from the India or the abroad. And for the participant, we have already announced. I would request Shiv Shankar Jana to announce. It will be organized, Shiv Shankar, 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
You can say, we will send another link. You have to register again, and the certificate of this webinar and that workshop will be given. Shiv Shankar, just a one.
Okay.
Shiv Shankar.
Actually, we are trying to organize, rather we have decided to organize 3 to 5 days long the workshop on basically art of writing research article, and it may cover the basically tools and techniques which will be used for conduct and also to write a journal article, and it may cover the area like the research question, how to frame the research question or research problem, and how to frame the hypothesis, survey method, and some tools to conduct the survey like Google Form, SurveyMonkey, and some sampling techniques, and also some tools to for the statistical calculation like SPSS or PSPP, and some citation management tools like Mendeley, Jotaro, etc., and also vivid study of the literature review, and some writing tools apart from the Word, Microsoft Word. There is a beautiful writing tools like LaTeX, and some web 2.0 tools like RSS, social bookmarking, and also some website of the open access resources. You all know that there are so many open access resources like OATD, Open Access Thesis and Dissertation, Directory of Open Access Journal, Directory of Open Access Book, OpenROAR, that is Registry of Open Access Repository, and some knowledge or concept mapping tools like CMap, and also some AI tools for checking the grammar and English mistakes like Grammarly, PubSure or Trinka AI, and some plagiarism tools like PlagScan, Plagiarisma, DupliCheck, Plagiarism Checker X. So many tools are there, and also some knowledge about the journal impact factor, H-index, site score, and so many tools are there. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Jana, thank you. I request our advisor, Dilipur Mohanto, sir, on that part, we do request you to extend your full cooperation, and others also. Bijan, we will not spare you. You have to extend your full cooperation in the program. That maybe Jana rightly said, at least 2 to 3 days. It will be better if we continue 5 days, but it depends upon the resource and the experts, all these things. However, Bijan, just we have finished our program.
Okay.
Just for the future program, it is the planning.
Okay,
Bijan,
no problem.
please say a few words.
No, check it. I'm nothing to
Please,
say.
Bijan.
I'm fine. I'm nothing to say. Okay.
It's okay.
Just one line.
Okay. Open house. You can. Other. That was that.
I just make a request to you to just after a journal issue is published, you see there are various kinds of people who will be reading. But if a meeting can be organized with all the contributors of the journal, various authors who have contributed to a particular issue, to have an in-house discussion wherein everybody will take just 5 or 6 minutes or maybe 10 minutes at the most to highlight the main emphasis of the research of the paper contained in the paper. So it will be a group discussion type, and everybody will be benefited by this. Otherwise, what it appears, what it means is that once a paper or journal is published, the authors look at various directions. They do not have any interaction among themselves. So this time one academic community will be developed. Gradually, one academic community will be developed.
Thank you, Tapusda. There is a proverb, great men think alike. Just, we have already discussed, you know, that in the next meeting, all the 15 authors of articles, they will be asked, they already asked in this bulletin, that brochure, you should send 5 to 7 minutes PPT on your article. On the next day, you have to present. Only those who will send that PPT, they will be allowed. Otherwise, there may be any technical difficulties. At the time, Shiv Shankar may continue that one. And the second thing, that for West Bengal State University, Abhijit, perhaps he is also one of the A12 member. Abhijit is there. He is the head of that Department of Education, and